What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Final Fantasy XVI because this game over this last weekend has been getting a very surprising amount of hate. And I want to talk about it because, to be honest, I think this is a very tiny but very loud group. I would actually bet money that 95% of people are completely loving this game. From the crazy graphics to the intense boss fights that are some of the best that Final Fantasy has ever had, the game is obviously extremely good. But this weekend, I was up in Philadelphia, I was hanging out with friends, I was partying, stuff like that. I wasn't really looking at Twitter and stuff, so it was very confusing to me when I was stuck at an airport and suddenly every tweet, every post, everything I see on my timeline is people talking about the game being the worst Final Fantasy or a bad PlayStation 5 exclusive. But let's try and go into this with an open mind. Let's see what their complaints are. Are you ready? Here we go. So, starting off, be sure to like and subscribe, but we're over here. This is Mighty Keith. Mighty Keith actually is the guy that kind of tipped me off about the fact that this was happening. A few big creators dropped their pretty harmless opinions about disliking the game, and that springboarded a bunch of people who have no intention on playing it to feel justified on hating the product. Because Musclebound Gamer said anybody having a hard time understanding why some people really dislike Final Fantasy XVI. It's interesting to me that this game has managed to be so polarizing because when I was playing it before launch, it seemed like an easy W. It seemed like a game that was bigger, faster, crazier than previous Final Fantasies. What's not to love? But even in the replies to his tweet, people are just saying, well, maybe some of us just don't like the game. And there are some genuine complaints. This is actually the head of reviews. Actually, now he's a writer over at Axios. This gentleman, Stephen Totillo, has worked at a bunch of different gaming websites. The man is somebody that, even if you don't respect him, he definitely has a lot of experience in the industry. And I'll be honest, I was surprised that he dropped this. I'm ready to bail on Final Fantasy XVI 12 hours in. This man is actually having such a bad time. He's thinking about quitting the game. Again, completely brain melting. Fun combat, flashy moments, but level and quest design is dull, and the game keeps wresting control from me. Now, I have already looked at a bunch of the complaints we're going to see today. A trend that comes up a bizarre amount, in my opinion, is how many people do not like the fact that this is a story-heavy game. A lot of Final Fantasy is very plot-heavy, but 16 goes a bit farther than others. Even comparing it to something like Final Fantasy XII or Final Fantasy Tactics, which are very cutscene-heavy games, this is maybe one of the heaviest cutscene-reliant Final Fantasies we've gotten in a very long time. The M rating gets us cursing, but no maturation of Final Fantasy's weaker aspects. Now, this is an aspect I've seen some people talk about, which is the fact that the game is definitely very filled with the naughty bad words that I can't say or I'll get demonetized. The story deeper in the game itself does get more mature, and I like that. This is one part I actually strictly disagree with him about. It's his opinion. He's only played 12 hours, so I do think that actually the story is very dark and mature. I'm not a big Final Fantasy person, and this didn't convert me. That is kind of bonkers. Now, I do think a bunch of this conversation, a bunch of this hate was stirred up just a couple days ago, 3 days ago. SkillUp posted his review of Final Fantasy XVI. I decided to watch this morning while eating breakfast. The man really does not like the game, and I'm kind of shocked because, SkillUp really enjoys Final Fantasy. He's a big fan of the newer stuff like Final Fantasy VII Remake. And he comes down pretty dang negatively on everything except the combat. He clearly enjoys the combos. He enjoys the ability to just zip up and unzip somebody. But it sounds like his major issue is the fact that while there is gearing systems and talent tree systems and stuff, they're not quite what he expected. And also, again, he doesn't like the fact that the game is just so heavy on these cutscenes. Now, I wanted to actually take a second here and jump over to Metacritic. This is just showing the fact that the game is definitely still very universally loved. An 88 on Metacritic is extremely high. Most games would kill to have an 88 on Metacritic. Now, the user score is where I had people, a lot of fans and stuff over this weekend kept sending me stuff being like, bro, it is getting stomped on Metacritic. Yo, check the review scores, bro. And I have to say, while it is getting a decent amount of negative, like people giving it a 0 out of 10 or something pretty low, I think it's still getting mostly good scores. Look at this. Another game boosted by the gaming media. You know why? Because they're afraid that if they don't give it a good review to Sony, they won't get review codes. Gamer Boy, that's not how anything works, but okay. Not a huge Final Fantasy fan, definitely not a JRPG. It feels like more of a mix of hack and slash and an adventure game. Well, it does feel like that because that's what it is. I wanted to take a look, though, at this main one that people have been upvoting because it's actually a very deep list of complaints. Now, we're not going to go all the way through it, but I found it interesting that this person did decide to really, parse out their problems with Final Fantasy XVI. And to a heavy degree, even though I actually think a lot of his points I do not share the opinion of, this is clearly a real post. This is clearly a real person that actually does not enjoy the game. This isn't some troll that's given it a 0 out of 10. So I want to take it seriously. But he says, exploration finally opens up about 20 hours in, but it's unrewarding and empty. Way too many cutscenes. Over half the game is uninteractive. Again, that is totally valid. Especially, imagine if this is your first Final Fantasy. If, they said they wanted this to be a big hack and slashy game. Imagine you did go from Devil May Cry to this. Now, obviously, Devil May Cry isn't a RPG, but I can understand how that would be very off-putting of like, all right, I'm ready to try Final Fantasy for the first time. And then you just end up sitting there eating popcorn for 20 hours. Linear and corridor-like Final Fantasy 13 tier level design. This is just wrong. In my opinion, this isn't just in my opinion, this is just misinformation. I don't think it's corridor-like Final Fantasy 13 whatsoever. The maps are what they call open zone, where you get a chance to wander around and interact with stuff. To call it corridor-like, in my opinion, is just a very, very deep misunderstanding of the game and the side quests. And even the exploration. It lacks RPG elements, and the ones present feel tacked on. Weapons, accessories, items, and build progression are an afterthought. They're nothing more than stat sticks. I mean, to be fair, as a person that's beat every single Final Fantasy, even the weird spin-offs like Chocobo Dungeon and stuff like that, a lot of the time that is how they are, is that usually the stat stick you're equipping is some sort of passive bonus and usually an immunity, like a +5 attack, poison resist, or, it makes it so that if you die, you get an auto revive if you get like the fairy earrings in FF9. But it's funny to me that people, I don't know, I think part of this comes down to the fact that people weren't exactly sure how this would work compared to other Final Fantasies. I think the appeal of the action is ended up having this inverse effect where a lot of people are seeing the game and going, oh man, this is not quite as over the top as I hoped. Severe pacing issues, bland side characters except for Cid. Combat is far too easy and requires no strategy. Mid-boss checkpoints, poor enemy variety. Some of this stuff I feel like does just come down to taste. I enjoy the quests and the characters and the people that come with us quite a bit, but I will agree the side quests are about as paper thin as something can possibly be. Now, I wanted to take a look at this because here's a tweet that was definitely made in good faith that people are taking really, really out of proportion, but it was from Gene Park, the amazing legendary journalist himself. I don't know why I did the blessing of Catholicism. And he said, I wouldn't mind a game where this is all explorable and not just a background. There's a lot of beautiful times where here you're standing on a cliff overlooking a forest. This is a crazy good vista of stuff you're never going to go to. There is a lot of cool skybox in Final Fantasy XVI that's a bit blocked off. And I understand that especially 30, 40, 50 hours into the game, you start to go, hey, why can't I go there? From an actual lore perspective, why can I not go there? Now, he decided to delete this tweet because people were actually very much using it against Final Fantasy, which was not his point. I deleted this because I don't think I need hundreds of people jumping down my throat that they're tired of open world games when I'm not even criticizing the FF16 map. People's nerves are so raw about this game. Now, I laughed about this because he was like, this guy actually replied and said, "Bro, we get it. You don't like the game, but a lot of other people do and are enjoying the game. Go make cocks on Zelda or something for real." And of course, the hilarity of this is the quote at the top here is from Gene Park. Gene Park is the Washington Post writer. Like, this is him as literally the title card of how good the game is. People are just extremely both defensive and afraid of this game, it feels like. There are some people claiming that the PlayStation 5 is overheating. I have not experienced that yet. I have seen people saying, I'm not saying it's misinformation, but some people have been saying that it just comes down to the fact that you need to clean your console every 2 years. So there's that. Now, the final one I wanted to look at here is actual definite misinformation. This actually has been flagged as fake news by Twitter itself. This lady here, Andrea Pacini, this lady posts a lot of misinformation and flat out lies, but I can't tell if it's a character or if she's just, I don't know, a paid employee of some company or a bot. I actually don't know. But she posted this little clip here of a guy with, there are these things that automatically dodge, they automatically do combos. Now, this streamer is doing this to be silly. The streamer decided to put on all the easy mode items, all the easy mode difficulty, and play the game with one button while eating a sandwich. It's clearly meant to be a joke. The guy is being silly, but she took it literally because she has the IQ of a bag of wet doorknobs, and she said, "The story is terrible," which, again, a lie. She's a liar. And it says, "The combat, press the same button 30 times. Again, obviously, there's a reason this got flagged. The person in the video is using multiple accessibility modes, such as auto dodge and health regen, as well as being on the literal prologue introduction of the game." It's just, this is the kind of stuff that I feel like it's kind of clogging up the conversation, is that while a lot of people do have actual legitimate complaints, there are people that just don't like Final Fantasy XVI, and that's fine. I just think that there is a lot of combat war, stupid console clash BS that's getting mixed in there. If you like Final Fantasy XVI, great. I love Final Fantasy XVI. I still haven't beaten it. I'm actually about to start playing it again today. But the game thus far is freaking amazing. If you don't like it, that's fine as well. But maybe try and stay away from the console war stuff. If you've never played the game and you just want to sit there and call it trash, maybe touch grass. You'll feel better. Or go hang out with your friends. I'm assuming you have friends, right? Good. Well, this has just been an off-the-cuff talk about Final Fantasy XVI. What do you guys think about it? Give it a big old like, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. You guys want to see that video again? Let me show you this video of Wood completely stomping me. This is Beat 'em Ups. He's a big Nintendo YouTuber, absolutely crushing me in arm wrestling, and it was a fun try, but man, I did bad.
2, 3. Max, turn your hat around. Turn your hat backwards. Turn your hat backwards. Over the top. Over the top. There's the power. There's the power.
We're going to do 2 turns of the hat.
There you go.
That's all I got. I'm so glad.
Blow him a kiss.
I can really get ready to slam me.
My $5, no!
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.